Good morning, 6th grade. Today we're going to do another statistical measure video. Today we are going to work on a few things. We've got the same standards we're working on, but I will put it into, like I said, user-friendly words. We will be able to find the interquartile range after we're done with today's lesson, the first quartile, the third quartile, the range again, and outliers given a set of data. I know we've done range just in our last lesson. You know that. Largest number minus the smallest number. And I know we worked on outliers before, but then before we worked on as outliers, as we just eyeballed it. Today, there is a way that mathematicians do it, not eyeballing it. And I will go over that. So let's begin. Okay, so in this example, the table shows the lengths of several Burmese pythons captured for a study. Find and interpret the range of their lengths. This would be in feet. So what do we have to do? It wants us to find us their range. So we're going to put the numbers in order from least to greatest. We got 5, 6.25. Looks like we got an 8. 10, 11, 12.5. So we got a 14, 15.5, 16.25, and we got an 18.5. So what you do is you find the largest number, which is 18.5, the smallest number, which is 5. Remember, when you subtract decimals, you always line up your decimals. So the answer would be 13.5 feet. That is our range. Now that's pretty easy. In fact, that was too simple. So I want you to figure out the median. Remember yesterday's lesson or 2 days ago? The median is basically the middle number. So, however, we have 10 numbers here, so we got to find the middle two numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the middle two numbers would be 11 and 12.5. You add those together. And you would come up with 23.5. Then we're going to divide that by 2. And that would be 11.75. So our median now is 11.75. So what we do right now is we're going to draw our line right there. That's our median. It's somewhere between 11 and 12.5, 11.75, right? So in order to find our first quartile, we got to find the middle number of our data values in the lower half, which is 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5 values down there, so what's our middle value? 8. 8 would be our first quartile. So we can put a first Q right there. Now you do the same thing for the third quartile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is our third quartile right there. I'm going to put it up top just to save space. Yeah, I know I'm a little messy right here, but I hope you understand it. Okay. So that's our third quartile right there. So remember I promised I'd show you how to find the IQR? To find the IQR, you take the third quartile, which is 15.5, and you subtract the first quartile, which was 8, and you get 7.5. So our first quartile we said was 5. Our third was 15.5. Now to find the IQR, you subtract the third from the first, or the first from the third, and you get 7.5. So we have found everything that we wanted to, and then some in this problem. We said our median was 11.75. I'm going to just take a moment, look at my work, pause it if you need to. Okay, this is another example that wants us to find the lengths of the great white sharks at a local aquarium. Find and interpret the range. Well, let's just follow directions on this one. Okay, that's all we're going to do. How do you find the range? Well, you have to find the largest number again. What's the largest number here? 19. What's the smallest number? Looks to be 14. Okay, so simple. 19 minus 14 equals 5. Our range equals 5 feet. Like I said, don't forget your label. That's always an important thing. Okay, this is our first picture to make sure you are watching these videos. Who's pictured there? None other than Donald Trump. Capital D-O-N-A-L-D, capital T-R-U-M-P. Okay, our next example. Let's see if I can get this zoomed in a little bit better. Ooh, there you go. The next example, the dot plot shows the top speeds of 12 sports cars. Find and interpret the interquartile range of this data. Okay. So I know it's a little small, but it says we have, well, how many sports cars are we talking about? We got 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12. We have 12 cars. I'm just going to write that down as a reminder. Now, the first thing we have to do is we have to find the median. Okay? If there's 12 cars, that tells me there's an even number. That means we have to find the 6th and the 7th and then add them together. Well, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is our 6th and this is our 7th. Okay? So we add. Now, we could add them together, 250 plus 245, and divide by 2. Or we could just ask ourselves, what is between 245 and 250? And the correct answer would be 247.5. That is our median. Okay? So, I'm going to draw a line right here, because that's our median, at 247.5. Now, I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers here. So, once again, I have to look for our third and our fourth. 1, 2, 3. Here's our third, and here's our fourth. So then, what's between 230 and 240? 235. So I'm going to put a first quartile is 235. And we do the same thing over here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we got to find our third and our fourth, which would be 250 and 260. What's in between? 255. That's our third quartile right there. So we got first, which was 235. We got our third, which was 255. Now, so what I just did is we are finding the medians of the lower half of the data to get the first quartile, and we're finding the median of the upper half of the data to find the other one. Okay, so that's the third quartile. Okay, now to find out the IQR, you subtract the third quartile from the first quartile. So you have 255, and you subtract 235, and you will get 20. So our IQR equals 20. And this thing's got Okay. Okay, we want to find the interquartile range of this data. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. Again, so we have to put them in order from least to greatest. 444, 466. Let's see, a 512, 532, 560. 636, 698, and finally 728. They're not going to make it easy on you today because once again they have 8 numbers. That means you have to find the 4th and the 5th. 3, 4, 5. Here's your 2 numbers that you're going to have to add up. That equals 1092. Divide that by 2, which equals 546. So our median is a 546. How would I find that? Added those 2 up, divide by 2. Okay, so now what you do is you draw a line right there. That's where your median is. So how many numbers do you have below it? You have 4 numbers below it. So you find the middle 2 numbers, 466 and 512. You add those up again, and you get 978. Divide that by 2. You get 489. So our first quartile is 489. Our third quartile, you do the same thing. You got find your 2 middle numbers. Okay, so you got 6 and 6 is 12. 1334. Divide that by 2. 6, 7. And you get 667 is our third quartile. Okay. How do you get the IQR again? Well, you subtract the third quartile from the first quartile. So you take 667, subtract that from 489, and you get 178. So our IQR equals 178. Easy peasy. Here's our second picture to make sure you are watching these videos. Mrs. Strand Conroy. Okay, now we are going to figure out if there's any outliers. Remember this problem we just got done with? To find outliers, you take the IQR, which is 20, and you multiply it by 1.5. And you get 30. Okay? So what you do now is you take the number 30 and you subtract it from 235. So, which is our first quartile. So you take the first quartile and you subtract it from the number that you just got. And how do we get this? We took the IQR, we multiply it by 1.5, 1.5. So 235 minus 30 equals 205. Any number below 205 would be considered an outlier. Doesn't look like we have any outliers on this one. Now, you do the same thing, but for the third quartile, you have to add 30 because we're going that way on the number line. So what's our third quartile for this one? 255 plus 30 equals 285. Any number past 285 would be considered an outlier. Do we have any outliers? No, not for this one. Let's go ahead and see if we have any outliers for this example. Okay. We said our IQR was 178. So let's do 178 times 1.5. Looks like we're going to get 267. Okay. So we find our first quartile, and we're going to subtract 267. And we get 222. Is there any numbers below 222? No, so there's no outliers going down. To find data in the upper quartile, we take our third quartile, which was 667, plus our number that we multiply by 1.5 was 267. Now remember, we have to add this to the third quartile, and we get 934. So there's no numbers past 934. So there are no outliers going up as well. Now I know I went over that fast, but if you struggle with it, please email me or Dojo. Here's our last picture to make sure you are watching these videos. This is Aaron Rodgers, in case you didn't know.